If you haven't heard, I'm the one who has to regretfully tell you that Degenerate75, James, the big guy, you know him from the Showdown Hoedown, his YouTube channel at Chippin' Nation as well, that he passed away on Monday. It's awful to hear, and it's hit me pretty hard, and I know it's hit a lot of people pretty hard in our small community as well. James was a fantastic guy, and a lot of people will talk about how great and nice someone is after they pass. And with James, he is one of the few people that I can ever remember that people talked about how nice and great he was while he was still alive. And that's really a mark of someone special. And I'm really proud to have gotten to know James over the past 5 years. And I remember one of the first times that we started to interact and we started to do shows together. And when I told him that I wanted him to be a guest on our Saturday Night Live show or Sunday Night Live show during football season with me and Cust, he was like over the moon. And when he came on, there's usually a feeling out period with, you have two people who've been friends a long time, someone new is coming in. I don't think that he and Cust had ever talked before, and like they hit it off like old friends. And that was really the magic of James and the shows that he did and how he interacted with people, that it wasn't a put on. He was a genuine guy. And that's why everyone always talked about, it didn't matter who you were. He would reach out to you. If you had a problem, James would be there to help. And that was the key to how great he was on camera as well, that even if you were on the other side of the camera, the hardest part about doing this is relating to people through the camera. It's very difficult. And I've never seen someone as natural as James do that. And it was just about him being himself. He was just that good of a guy. And so it makes this passing so tragic. I remember when he told me the news, it was probably 15, 16 months ago now. And during the whole period of him fighting his cancer that he had no idea about. And one day, he starts feeling a bit ill, goes to the doctor and gets this terminal diagnosis. And he did everything he could. Trials, didn't matter what it was. He would spend every cent that he had in order to get better because he wanted to live. And he never stopped doing content the entire time, even though he was struggling to get through it. I remember asking him to come on a few shows over the past few months, and it had started taking a turn for the worse. And he told me, he's like, I was like, man, like, don't worry about like whether or not you can only come on for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it might be. And he would tell me, like, if I can't do the entire thing, like, I don't want to be unreliable. I don't want to be the guy who no-shows at the last second. And no matter how much I told him, like, that doesn't matter, man. If we can just get you on, that would be great. And I know that he wanted to do it, but he just didn't have the energy. And he put all of his energy into that Wednesday night stream that he would still do as of very recently. And he was going through it in a really bad way. And I don't know. I'm not usually one who's at a loss for words with something like this. And it's horrible. It's tragic. And you knew it was coming. He knew it was coming. He told us it was all coming. But now that the moment has arrived, it doesn't feel real in a weird way. And I just want to, if he can hear me, if his family can hear me, if anyone out there hears me, that we're really going to miss you, James. And I hope you're in a better place now. I hope the suffering is over. And hopefully we can continue on talking about the stuff that you love, daily fantasy golf. It's crazy to think that one fairly innocuous thing, basically betting on golf, was able to bring together so many people and one central figure that was able to galvanize so much happiness to go through. We did a show at the beginning of the year, our season preview. I just remember him ragging on Rory so badly. And then just even talking to him after the Masters, just ever so briefly. And he's just like, well, I was wrong. Moving on to the next one. That was the attitude that he has, and that's the attitude that everyone has. We even talk about, I don't want to turn this into daily fantasy strategy, but he didn't care if he lost. He just wanted to win. And you can't win unless you truly don't care about losing. And he took the last 15 months with that same approach, and it was inspiring to see him out there, to talk to him, just to have discourse back and forth. And he always tried to keep the positive face on, no outward facing. And I hope that he wasn't struggling behind the scenes. Obviously, with his health, he was struggling behind the scenes, but he didn't seem like he was in an awful place. He had come to this aura of acceptance to go along with it. And I really think that he was able to live his last days that as happy as he could be in doing what he really liked to do. And I think that's important for all of us to remember. Not only doing this, like this is, like I said, fairly innocuous that you're tuning into something like this to hear about golf, but in your real life, that can you keep on being happy no matter how bad the times get? And this is as bad of a time as it could have ever got towards the end of his life with massive suffering that it never turned into a bummer for him. He always just wanted every extra day that he got, he felt grateful for. And I feel like I need to start living that way myself. And I know that a lot of you out there need to start living that way too, because that's the inspiration that we're going to take away from James, that every day matters and every day you get to the next day, and that matters too. And you should be very grateful for that. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble on, but I've been trying to process how I feel about this over the past 24 hours or so, and I was hoping it would be more eloquent, but I just want all you to know that James was someone that I never met in real life, yet I considered to be a friend. It's weird how social media and the internet has really changed that for a lot of people. And it's not just every single person you talk to you consider a friend, but we'd have in-depth discussions just kind of going back and forth, and we'd record a show and then we'd just talk for another hour because that's how James was. That was the positivity that he had. Everyone wanted to talk to him and you wanted to listen to him talk. And he's going to be missed. So rest in peace, James. We're going to miss you and we're going to keep your memory alive.
You're entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog. Code Mayo. Underdog right now will get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 plus a free pick, and they have the extender promo going for NBA. If you missed out on the Tuesday night game one, fortunately, there is a Wednesday night game one to get in. What happens is you get a 40% boost if you play game one. If you play game two, it's a 50. You keep playing all the games. If it goes to a game seven, you get a 100% profit boost. So find some tools that mash NBA and start clicking away on Underdog. But you got to use code Mayo in order to do that. Geoff Ulrich is on the line with me to talk about the final bets for the Charles Schwab Challenge, the DraftKings Picks, Underdog plays, one and done. We got it all going on for you, man. I checked our DMs. It's been a year since you've been on the show.
Yeah, I think it has been. Maybe less than a year. I feel like Canadian Open. Was that about right?
That is exactly. We did all Canada week for the Canadian Open, and you were the
right.
DFS guest.
That's right. I probably gave out a ton of shitty picks too. So apologies for that. And we'll try and do better.
You've come to the right place. There's no bad picks here.
Oh, we'll see about that. We'll test that theory today, Pat.
I'm excited for this. Because it's usually just me and Tambo. Tambo tells me like my picks are terrible, then I feel bad about myself, then I lose money. I feel like you and I like vibe on some of these picks where, we can use Griot this week. Who cares?
We're not scared to go there. Definitely. I mean, I got some guys lined up. I mean, you're probably just going to throw up when I even mention their names. You probably even know they're in the field, but no, this, and this kind of event is good for us too, Pat, because it's not a signature event. We don't have to guess like, oh, is it going to be like, Calais or Xander or whatever. It's, we can go to the bottom of the field because legitimately this event, the Charles Schwab Classic, or I just call it the Colonial, it has a lot of like, it gets the old veterans involved. It gets, you see some randos. Davis freaking Riley won this at like 200-1 last year. So we can go there this week. I do think you should go there, and we'll get into all that. We just saw a couple guys, long shots hit last week with big top fives. I think you could see potentially a little bit of something similar there this week again. So
I brought you on mainly for you to brag about the two bets that you made that hit at gigantic numbers. So please, the floor is yours.
No, I mean, look, it's almost embarrassing in a way. I mean, first of all, I will take credit for being the only guy who hit outrights on the week Scotty Scheffler won at like plus 400. Having both Harris and Davis Riley in the without Scotty Scheffler, without Rory, and without Bryson markets is definitely an all-timer I'm not going to forget. But I will definitely admit, I ran like an absolute god down the stretch. And the thing is, Pat, I didn't even realize what was happening until Rom's score posted. And I looked at the leaderboard again, and there was nobody in front of Harris English. And it finally clicked. I bet Harris English in that market, the without Scheffler market. So I was just sweating like top tens with Davis Riley and Harris. And all of a sudden it went from that to, oh my God, this is going to be like an epic week. So yeah, I my whole approach last week, I will take credit for this. I said one of the big guys was going to go out and front run, and your best idea was to take a bunch of long shots, take the guy you like. I had fully admit I had no Scheffler, no exposure, didn't like him at all, but take the guy you like at the top and then load up on a bunch of guys 100 to 1, 200 to 1, and top 10 them, top 5 each way, whatever. And if you hit one or two, you're going to have a big week. And admittedly, I never thought I would break that way with the post and bogey and Davis Riley becoming a putting god on the back nine, but it happened. So I will take full credit for that. But definitely one I will remember just for the way it broke down, because I didn't even think I had a sweat going until, like I said, Ron posted.
What do you make of Riley this week and Harris English this week? Because I think they're going to be two of the more popular names, especially DraftKings wise. And I'm good fading them.
I'm definitely. I mean, I've bet Davis Riley starting at Puerto Rico when he was like 250 to 1. I think I've bet him in every single start. I will probably have no exposure to him this week. I still really like him as a player. Like long term, I think there'll be better spots for him though. It's tough coming off the biggest week of his life, kind of with a T2. He's the defending champion. I really like his game, but he also just ran extremely well with the putter last week. You have to factor that in a bit. Now he's down under 50 to 1. He's going to be popular. I think he makes for a good fade. Harris is a different story to me. I think Harris English is kind of on a run here. He's playing the best golf of his life. The ball striking is there. We've seen Harris English win after a major before too at the Travelers. I am probably going to have a little bit of Harris English exposure, even like as an outright or something to that effect. I do think you've seen Harris English in contention at this event a lot as well at Colonial. So he would be the guy I'd be more bullish on. Veteran player. I think like really elevating his game. The ball striking's there. We know he's an elite putter. So way more bullish on Harris this week than Davis, but I wouldn't put anyone off just fading either of them. Their numbers have come down. They're going to be more popular picks on DraftKings. It's probably a good spot to at least get, minimize your exposure or just have exposure to one of them.
Well, I think I'm actually going to take more of the theory of what you mentioned that you did at the PGA Championship, that I'm just going to work basically off the assumption that Scheffler is going to win. And then now I'm left with, how can I make money in this week? And I got a bit too excited with Daniel Berger earlier on in the week. He is a boost at CoolBet right now. If you hit the description, you can opt into the Cabot golf. You should do that, by the way. You live in Canada. That's not Ontario. You can join CoolBet, and then you can opt into that Cabot contest. You win a free trip to Cabot. Tell people, like, you're from the Rockies. Wouldn't it be great to come out east and play the two best courses in the country?
That's true. Canada's a big country. Going out east, probably, outside of like, Stewart Creek and a couple places in Alberta, the Cabots and the links out there, man. I mean, it's world class. So you should do that. You should sign up for the promo on CoolBet and get yourself hopefully a trip out there to visit Pat.
Or you can just go to the exclusives tab and hit Daniel Berger. I made them boost Daniel Berger up to 30 to 1. That made me feel better about betting Daniel Berger, not at 22 to 1.
I mean, that is a very good number in all seriousness. Like if you can get that and you're interested in, getting an outright on a mid-range guy, I mean, I would snap that up in all seriousness. Yes.
Harris English is still 40 there as well. I was giving that. So it's not that I dislike Harris English this week. It's if I'm going to try to win, if he comes 17th, I think I'm fine.
Yeah. I mean, again, like Harris is definitely, I think that the whole, I'm with you. Like my strategy is pretty similar to last week. It's going to involve a little bit more of these mid-range plays. Like I did, like you, I snapped up some Maverick McNeely. He's kind of, the Daniel Berger for me this week. I just feel like he's had some great rounds. He's maybe due for another win, but I don't really want to take a ton of these guys as pure outrights just on their own, just to beat Scheffler straight up. I think if you're just putting 3 or 4 of these guys into your card, I don't necessarily like that strategy. But if you're taking a guy like, say, Si Woo for, maybe an each way, a bet him in the without Scotty market. That I can get behind. And then, obviously include some longer shots as well. But I wouldn't just pepper this range just with outrights. I think you're just going to leave yourself exposed to a Scheffler win. And I mean, Scheffler won twice after majors this year. He's here because he likes this course and he wants to win this event. He is, he is a guy who does not mind ruining lives, so to speak, and coming to these events and just sweeping the boards. So, yeah, I would be wary of it. Have like you said, you got to have a plan for how can I profit this week if Scheffler wins. So
Second, third, second, the last 3 years for Scotty Scheffler here.
yeah, he shot
Loser.
5 rounds of 67 or better in the last 2 years at Colonial. And this is a tough course, so yeah.
And it might play a little bit tougher. I'm just looking at the weather right now. It seems like there's going to be rain overnight from Thursday into Friday. But other than that, like wind picks up a little bit in the morning, then a little bit later on in the afternoon. Midday is going to be fine for the golfers on Thursday. And then into Friday, especially if they do end up getting what they're calling for in rain, it's going to be maybe a soggy course. Scotty will get his wish. No mud balls, lift, clean, and replace for him. But then you get to the weekend and it is all wind all the time. So I didn't really factor in at all around the green because it generally does not factor in, but these are small greens. It's hard to hit the fairway here. These are very narrow fairways that chipping might end up becoming a priority on the weekend, that or just simply have hot putting, which who can predict that? Davis Riley just did it, and that dude can't make like an 8-footer most of the time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you about the forecast. Saturday looks like it could be brutal, which could, really just, it could, again, like you come back to last week, like the weather was a bit of a factor there. You had a bit of a wet course. Some guys didn't like it. I think it really just plays into the fact that you may just see some guys give up a little bit who don't like the conditions, who are behind a bit. And then, if it becomes a bit more of like a grind fest, I mean, some of these guys from the back who just have like the really good short games or just, get in tune with the putter, could make some noise. So yeah, again, we're not going to give it all the way up front here, but certainly a couple long shots I have circled who I think could fit that bill, could potentially thrive in those kind of conditions. And it does set up as a bit of a Christian Bezuidenhout week, Pat, where, maybe he loses like 4 strokes on approach, but gains like 10 strokes around the greens or something. So just something to think about with the weather and the way it's going to play. I think the weekend is going to be a bit of a grind fest for sure.
Man, this is where I think that you get involved down the card, honestly. So if my final bets for the week, I might add some first-round leaders, maybe another long shot or two. You can sub to the newsletter to find all of that. It's completely free. It'll come out on Wednesday evening if you're looking for the last update possible on all this stuff. But I bet Berger at 25-1. I hit him again at 30 once they gave me my exclusive boost over at CoolBet. Sub to that or join CoolBet down in the description right now. Opt in to that Cabot trip. And then after that, the next guy on my card is at 80-1. I have Akshay at 80. And then I took 3 bombs with the 8 places. I took Rio Hisatune, 100-1 with 8 places. Eric Cole, 110-1, 8 places. And Nico Echeverria, 125-1. Shockingly, like great approach play his past 2 starts. And when you go back and just game log, watch what he does on the greens, he's apt for like a plus 7.5. He's one of those few guys that once a month just outputs everyone else in the field. And if he can do that this weekend when it gets super windy and the approach play still stays somewhat consistent, he could pull what Riley did last year when Riley just kind of ran away with this and everyone just sat there slack-jawed. Like, oh, Scotty's 4 back. It's like, oh, Davis Riley's not taking his foot off the gas here. He's just going to win this by 4.
Yeah. And when it's tough conditions, it's hard to get motivated to go out there and actually grind and get aggressive for birdies because you just can't do it on a course like this. So Echeverria stood out to me a bit. I didn't bet him yet, but he's definitely an interesting player. He also won on like a bit of a similar course out in Japan, Narashino, another longer kind of tree line par 70. I think it's got a little bit of correlation. So yeah, he did pop up a little bit for me. I could see it. I'll go over quickly. I mentioned Maverick. I think if the conditions are bad, I think that's good. He's a pretty good wind player, good around the greens. I could see him again getting hot with the putter. I don't love the number, but I don't hate it either. He's been positive on approach in a couple events. I had to bet Siwoo Kim here. I don't know. I did bet him in the without Scotty market, so got a little bit of an each way on Siwoo. Those are kind of my two.
This would kind of complete the Siwoo Slam in a weird way. That would give him Sony, Amex,
Right.
Sawgrass, Sedgefield, and I feel like Heritage in this course are the other
It's
two.
it's so weird too because you look at Siwoo and you figure, oh, he's got a couple of top tens at Colonial, right? But his best finish is T29. I think that does factor into his number a little bit. Like I think if he had the course history coming off the good weeks, he would potentially be down with like Aaron Rye, but you can get a bigger number on him at a lot of places. Like I said, I found a decent each way on him. So I kind of split my exposure without Scotty Market and just a traditionally each way on Siwoo, but I do like him. Found some confidence with the putter. I think a tougher course, a little bit of tough environment is good for Siwoo too. So it really comes down to the putter with him. Let's just be honest. If he's got the confidence he did last week, he could definitely win this thing. But um, I took JJ Spawn, which I don't really love anymore. I kind of hate it, but he does make sense on this course. He's played really well. He's got 2 runner-ups. I just, he's gaining on approach last week. I don't hate the number. And then I get into the longer shots here. Um, Andrew Putnam, big number, took him for I think a top 12 each way at like 110. And then Adam Shank, I told you I was going to mention some guys and make you want to throw up, but he's got the great course history here. And if you look at Adam Shank, 5th in Texas like 3 weeks ago, missed the cut at Myrtle Beach, but then he qualified for the US Open, I think on Monday or Tuesday or on Monday, shot a 64 in round 1 there. He's definitely found something with his game, and he's got really good course history here. Good course history at TPC Deer Run as well. I don't think I'm forgetting. I think those are my main bets there. Oh, and I bet Bez. I bet Bezay Note, who I already mentioned. So he was kind of my first bet. I just like the conditions here for him. Again, if it's going to be a scramble fest, Bezay Note, who gained like 5 strokes on approach, could definitely get around Colonial pretty well.
Weirdly, he has done a lot of damage. I mean, he had the top 5 at Deer Run that time. He he got a winner's paycheck at American Express when Nick Dunlap ended up with. Is it crazy to you that Nick Dunlap has 2 wins in his career?
It's great. It's like I don't really know. It could be crazy because like the way Nick Dunlap is playing right now, he's like a 20 handicapper. So like if this is his career where he can't get it back, it's going to be the craziest 1 year run of like any golfer to have 2 wins like that. Actually, he was like top 5 in a FedEx Cup playoff last year too, I think. But yeah, it is pretty crazy when you think about some of the guys we talk about week in, week out who like don't win. And then, Dunlap coming in and shipping two events like that, like starting the year as an amateur. It's a pretty insane season. So, and then just being so terrible this year for whatever reason. So yeah, definitely strange run there. But Bazane Note, I'll stay on him in a place like this. I do feel like Bez is a guy like sometimes we all try to want to happen, or at least I'm the leader of that. Sometimes I want to make him happen. I think he's a decent player, but maybe he's just not quite the player I think. I don't know. This is definitely a Bazane Note course. So if it's going to happen for him, it's probably going to happen on a course like this.
Yeah, he was second to Dunlap, but since Dunlap was an amateur, that he ended up getting the first place prize. So it's like he has a PGA Tour win. If you played in the one and done and had Bez, you got first place money. The only other one I was really thinking about, like I wanted to float around, like obviously Poston had a great week last week. This feels like a very good course for him. Heritage, Wyndham, this course all share similar properties. He's been great at those two. Harmon just won in Texas, and he wins on the PGA Tour. He's won a major, so he could go out theoretically and beat Scotty. That's what I liked about Nico. I'm glad you brought up Japan when he ended up winning. Like he outran Xander and Spawn and Morikawa down the stretch there and just lit them up.
JT. Yeah. No, you're right. Again, like we know he can win. That's kind of why I'm not as opposed to Harris English too. This week, like we've seen Harris beat legitimate fields before. He's kind of like Brian Harmon. It's just you can probably get a better number on Brian Harmon. So, yeah, I think all those guys, legitimate winners, decent numbers this week. Even McNeely, has won recently. So, again, I just wouldn't go crazy with this range. I just don't want to take too much exposure to, guys with too short odds that is going to leave me in a place where if Scotty wins, like I got nothing. So I don't know. Guys like Aaron Rye are interesting too, but to me, you just got to pick a couple guys and then find some other bets, find some other placing or each way guys that you want to be able to that it's going to give you exposure to if Scotty wins, I can still make some money.
I think that's why I like the DraftKings slate a little bit more because I can build my Scotty
Yeah.
lineups and dedicate half my lineups to him and then get really funky with the Harmons. I like Ryan. I think Bobby Mack, anytime that there's weather involved, that all of a sudden he
Yeah.
becomes far more appealing. Both of his wins have come at par 70 courses as well, last year in Hamilton, then last year in Scotland. And then you have your Postons of the world. Like, I like Harry Hall. I don't want to bet Harry Hall or Mac Hughes at 66 to 1 when I can bet Akshay at 80. And I get that Akshay hasn't been good, but this course is perfect for him.
And I mean, it's like it's perfect for him, and it's just the number. It's like you said, like I like Harry Hall this week too, but I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to bet Harry Hall with Scheffler here. But then you look down, and it's like, if you want to get a little bit more, like especially for betting, I mean, it's like Akshay at 80 is a very good number. I mean, we may be like looking at that number next year and be like when was this guy 80 at Colonial in a non-signature event? You could even go down like there's some guys like that people liked last week, like Kitayama, who I mean, like is a pretty solid player and he's played a little bit better. I'm not saying that's the guy I would bet, but I would certainly look to him maybe for DraftKings. So yeah, I think there's just better options, like I said, than that middle of the card this week. I picked a couple guys I don't mind, but I think that starting at Akshay at 80 is not a bad idea at all. And then just going even bigger than that with guys like we mentioned at 100 to 1. I think that's a good way to construct the card this week. It gives you a little bit of outs. It gives you guys you can work with in the top 10 markets as well. Because again, I learned the hard way, Pat, because I got burned so many times by Scheffler last year in these events where you think you have a good card, you like all these guys, and then you come to Sunday, it's like, what the fuck was I thinking? Betting against Scotty Scheffler or Rory or whatever. And it's like, you got to have a bit of a plan. So I like it. I think Akshay's numbers is really good, and certainly a guy I wouldn't mind having exposure to this week.
Yeah, and I'm not playing the without Scheffler market. So I have the each ways on all the big guys and then to grab that 80
That's
on
fine too.
Akshay.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I know Akshay can win tournaments. Like if he
yeah,
sun runs like he can beat Scheffler. It's not likely that he's going to beat Scheffler. There's a reason he's 80 to 1, but I don't envision a world where I look at this board and Tommy Fleetwood's 20 to 1 and Akshay is 80. And I'm thinking, man, Tommy has a 4
yeah.
times better chance than Akshay to win this tournament. It's just not true.
Yeah, it's not true, and I'm admittedly like Akshay was one of the first names. I'm like, ooh, like that's a pretty big number. I mean, when you talk about recent form, it's not great, but you know,
It spikes though.
this
Like the approach has
and
been
this, yeah,
awesome every third tournament. He continuously putts. He's still hitting fairways. All the elements are there. And we've seen him, he has 2 wins in the past year. Like he can get it all together so quickly that I just wouldn't want, like if he was 30 to 1, I would have no interest. But I take a look at this number, like he plays well in the wind. And you need a guy who can make putts this week. Even going back and looking at it, like Griot might be the last guy onto my card, depending on what number I can get him at. I looked at him and Hoagie, but I just bet on Tom Hoagie at a tournament where wind came on the weekend. He basically shit himself and had to like run into the clubhouse and just ran off the leaderboard, is what I'll tell you what Tom Hoagie did on Sunday at Valero, a tournament that Akshay has won, by the way, although he collapsed coming down the cut sweat stretch for me that week as well. Coming, and then he was like great, or no, he was great at the Players before that, then. But with Griot, even when he won here, beat your boy Shank in a playoff after hitting the ball off the cart path. And his ball, remember his ball was rolling down the river?
that was actually really good close. Grill hit it into the river, which nobody even knew was on the hole. That's how far right he was. And then he just redeemed himself in the playoff by like sticking it. Shank missed the putt to win. Shank had like 2 close calls in 2023. I remember that, but
He got
that
stuck.
was
He got stuck behind the tree at Valspar.
yeah, yeah. He a couple bad breaks really. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I think Shank is a long shot. Who we've seen get in contention in these kind of events too. But to your point, yeah. The last thing I was going to say is this is still an event after a major, and weird things happen. Like Andrew Novak, who didn't even qualify for the Masters, almost won the RBC. Last year, Davis Riley, who didn't play the PGA, won this event by like 5 strokes. And we've seen like weird things can still happen. So it's not that I don't think Scheffler's going to be in the mix, but a guy like Akshay who's just been like doing nothing, could he just pop up here for a week? Yeah, absolutely. So could a guy like Shank. And you know what? The other outcome is Scheffler could just win by 5. So lots of things could happen, but I think that taking all those outcomes into consideration when you're building your card is a must this week.
It's funny reminiscing about talking about some of the names that have been in contention. Something just popped in my mind. So Sam Burns has won here. Sam Burns has won twice at Copperhead. He once beat Davis Riley in a playoff at Copperhead. Davis Riley has
Yep.
won at this course. We just talked about Shank's near misses. He lost in a playoff here. He came second to Taylor Moore because he hit a shanky drive on the 72nd hole and then had to play cross-handed out of the trees to end up losing by a stroke. Maybe there's something with Valspar.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, long par 71, tight course, tough to hit fairways, demands pinpoint precision, kind of lots of dog legs. I mean, I think they're very similar setups. I'm trying to think. There's another course I had in my mind, but Valspar is definitely like at the peak of it. I think Deer Run is the other one. Like the Zach Johnson, Steve Stricker era. Those guys used to just win both those events every year. But I think Valspar is probably the best comparable. Colonial's become a really tough course, so certainly something to that. You could look back in the history and potentially even pick up a couple guys we didn't mention, but certainly you have to like the comparison between those two courses.
Bud Colley. Interesting name. I was looking at the leaderboard from
Yeah.
Valspar this year. So Hisatune was 4th, so that's great. Who else? Eric Cole was 12th. Echeverria was 16th. So at least all those guys, all my long shots finished inside the top 20 at Valspar. Who else was there? Ricky Castillo was there. Matt McCarty's interesting because he's just played some good golf against good fields. But Bud Colley being 4th, Bridgman being 3rd. Obviously, we're not getting Victor or JT or Xander at this course. Seamus Power was top 10. Glover's really interesting to me. What are Glover's odds? I feel like they're 66 to 1. So I'm not going to end up betting him. But
Yeah.
I think
Again,
DraftKings wise, I'm
Mhm.
very intrigued because he has the perfect game for here. He just can't putt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Probably not a guy I'd bet at 66 to 1. If he was like 100 to 1, I would definitely have interest. But agreed, like him at 8,100, I think most people will just go down to like Bud Cauley or Smalley or something like that, and probably just Glover probably isn't going to be very popular. So definitely good, especially if you're building out like a balanced lineup there. That maybe just is like 8K heavy, like a Harmon, Glover. Just every year we come to this, and obviously Scheffler could dominate, but you usually come to Sunday and there's like 10 guys from this 8K range that all have a shot on the weekend, and it often ends up being the key. So could be Glover this year. Either way, I think he's going to have some lower ownership where he's stuck there on DraftKings.
I just reran my Fantasy National model, but only using stats from Copperhead to see who did well. So Scheffler has never played it. So that if you want to get bump Scotty out of the number 1 spot in a model, just use Copperhead stats. But Glover is actually number 1 in this. It's
Okay.
Glover, Riley, Taylor Moore, Spieth, Mac Meisner, Wallace, Chandler Phillips, Norlander, Fleetwood, Bud Colley, Hisatune, Eric Cole.
Like you said, it's if you're going the non-Scotty route, maybe that's a good angle. Stack guys who did good at Copperhead. Yeah.
Like Norlander rates out second for me for the week in my like adjusted
Yeah.
rankings behind Scheffler, and now he pops up on this one. Yet I think every time I've ever played Henrik Norlander, he comes dead last in a tournament.
I have tried the Hendrik Norlander thing numerous times to no avail. Which means this is probably going to be the week where he finds 9 strokes putting on the greens, but certainly a player who like profiles really good. The proximity stats are really good. Hits mid and long irons pretty well. He's just like, I don't even know how to describe Henrik. He's just a funky player. Like sometimes the driver just gets really terrible, and sometimes the putter is just like crazy off for him. But he's hitting his irons really consistently. I mean, a guy who's lost in a playoff on the PGA, he's got numerous runner-ups, but he's very up and down. So, yeah. I mean, I hate to be like, oh, he's a DraftKings play, but probably he's a DraftKings play. A guy you just want to kind of mix in the tournament lineups because he does have that spike capability. Certainly, like I said, he's had numerous top 5s on the PGA, and it usually comes with these easier events. So,
And he has 2 top 20s in his past 4 starts as well. So it's not like it'd be crazy.
no, the form is there. Like that's what I'm saying. Like he's a frustrating guy to look at because you look at him and you're like, well, I mean, he should be he should be contending here anytime soon. But then you go to bet on him, and it's like he's in like T50 because he took an 8 or something because he like 4-putted from 20 feet, and you're like, yeah. So I don't know. Could be his week. Like I said, I'll take the easy out and say he's a DraftKings play.
Yeah, I mean, I might end up on him and Griot as playing those like big each ways or top 10, something like that in the market. Again,
Yeah.
I'll decide on that. I'll sleep on it, think about it a little bit more, maybe dig in with a bit more research, and I'll have those results and tips in the newsletter. Oh, I also bet Guido on Euro because Sky released a show early on Mayo MediaNet, and there was the Open Championship or the U.S. Open qualifying. So a lot of the guys in whatever the Sudal Open.
Yeah.
Basically like WD'd, and now Guido's down to like 20-1 or something. I got him at 50. It's great. He's gonna win.
Oh, I did not take that angle. Lazy, and I didn't look at the Euro odds. Okay, well, I guess I missed out.
Yeah, he's my lone bullet over in Europe. One and done for the week. I had Bryson last week, as did 39 of the top 50 guys in the race for the Mayo Cup with 100K up top. I was in 36th going into last week. I had Bryson and dropped to 38th.
How many people use Scheffler? Did you get like, was he really popular? He couldn't have been that popular.
He was. Most people had used Scheffler already. So like 2 guys were able to come from behind me and move up. Like very few people.
Okay.
I think 1 guy moved inside the top 10. Like no one inside the top. No one inside the top 10 had Scheffler. It was 9 Brysons and like a Cantlay or something like that.
Okay. What do you think? Is it? It feels like for one and done. This is like if you got Scheffler, it feels like a lot of people could just be firing here and just like being like trying to make up for chasing. Or what's your feeling there?
That's a terrible idea though, because you have Memorial.
No, I think
you have Memorial next week. That's worth 4 times the money.
Right, and at the U.S. Open, so yeah, like I don't think it's a great idea, but I feel like a lot of people might just be like, yeah, I'm not going to miss out on 2 Scheffler wins in a row. I wouldn't use. Yeah,
if you missed out, if you just missed out on him and you still have him available, you'd be crazy not to save him for a big tournament at this point, where you can get 4 times the multiplier, because no one's going to use him this week. So even if he wins and you have him and didn't use him, it's not like I have him. I'm not using him. Even if I had him, I wouldn't be using him. He's going to be 2% used this week.
You think he'll be really low? Okay, fair enough.
Like, I think
right, but the money is. I'm not factoring in the money enough. I mean, you're right. I'm just thinking he's like plus 250 in the odds. I think a lot of people just be like, "Oh, like this guy, he's so short. I'm just going to take Scotty." But you're right. Like the multiplier is probably going to drive most people off it. So, I guess the nice thing about this event for one and done, like, is there really anyone who's going to be like super highly on? Because it doesn't feel like it, right? Like,
well, I think that like stuff will coalesce. Like Burger's going to be very popular, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would say Burger would probably maybe be the most if I had to guess.
Aaron Rye, Harris English, JT Poston, Davis Riley, Siwoo Kim. I think this is the range that everyone is going to go to in one and done and hope that these guys win. So for my main team, the team that's inside the top 40, I'm just going to like, there's no difference between any of these guys. And a guy tweeted today that he has, I think it's like 15 top 20s this year with no top 10s. And he's basically in last place. Like getting an 11th place finish at Colonial is not moving the needle for you at all. No, if you come in 7th, it doesn't do anything. So you got to take someone who could maybe come inside the top 3. And I feel like all these guys' odds are about the same. Now, obviously, like JT Poston has better odds than like Griot to finish inside the top 5, but it's not the difference between those two's top 5 odds and JT Poston and Scheffler's top 5 odds aren't even comparable. So I'm just going to go down to the bottom. I'm going to use Nico as my one and done.
Yeah, I was going to say it definitely makes sense to take like a 1% owned guy, like a guy who literally like 3 people are going to use, because it's like if Berger and Harris are like the 2 popular guys and they finish like T17, T8, you're not going to get hurt much, right? So, and even if they win, I mean, they're not going to be like 50% owned, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense. I thought you were going to take Akshay, but you've probably already taken him, haven't you?
Oh, I sure have. He missed the cut for me.
There you go.
I have
Yeah,
3
no,
teams. I'll figure out a way to use Akshay on some of these teams. But yeah,
yeah,
dude, like pick your poison with whatever loser you want. If it's Eric
yeah,
Cole, if it's Tom Hoagie, like one of these guys, 1%ers
yeah,
from the bottom of the field, like if they win, it is worth it at that point. Or come in second, come in third. Like if you take JT Poston and he comes in, let's say, third place, that's great. He's going to be 20% owned, and third place, you get what, like 400 grand.
yeah.
It's meaningful, but it's not a game changer here, especially if the move is you want to be the only guy getting the 400 grand this week. If you're near the top, like if you're near the back, just take someone that no one else is taking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we've given a bunch of players you could obviously think about there. Like JJ Spawn is a guy who probably most people won't even
Yeah.
think too hard about one and done. I mean, you don't need to go
Harmon would
back
be
to like
another one. Glover would be another one of the guys that we've brought
Harmon,
up. Like no one's
Pauly.
using
Yeah,
these guys.
yeah,
And
agreed.
they're
They're going to do
exactly
very
the
well.
same as all the other guys everyone else is using.
Yeah, my main suggestion would be probably definitely stay off like Davis Riley, Poston. I mean, I like Harris, but he's definitely going to be popular, and I just don't think that I would rather play the game theory here. So agreed there. Good week to go way back.
Let's go over to Underdog and check this out. We're going to make some Underdog plays for Colonial. Do you have any like inkling of what you want to do for round one? We saw that the weather isn't going to be all that bad for round one,
Yeah.
so that's at least intriguing.
My feeling for round one and just the guys I got up here, I do think they've tightened it a little too much on like for the round one scores. Like, I mean, I've just got a couple guys up here like Siwoo set at 69.5. I mean, most of the top players that they have up right now. I mean, we just need an obviously an under par round, excuse me, from these guys to cash the under. So, or to cash the lower, excuse me. That's probably where I would be leaning. If for round one, again, you've got to change based on the conditions and stuff, but the winds aren't high. We could even just get like a little bit of rain in the forecast. The greens at the start of the week are going to be the softest they are anyways because they're not shoot up or anything. So my feeling is I would load up on at least one guy for round one and take the lower, take the guy you like, um, and start there. Probably start with my feeling is these are just a little bit too tight. And they're based off the scores from last year and the fact this has become a harder course. But I think we're getting a little bit of an edge to be bullish, so to speak, Pat, and take some lowers.
I was just looking at 2.5 bogeys or worse for Spieth.
Yeah, I mean the bogey or better is obviously a little bit of a different conversation, but don't hate that. I think
Let's do that, and we'll throw in Harmon lower.
yeah, that's exactly the kind of player I would be targeting for a lower, like a guy with course experience, a guy who's not going to get tricked out by Colonial in any way, shape, or form. Wasn't in contention last week. I like that quite a bit. I think Harmon's fine. I would probably be fading some of the guys who were in contention in round one. So like I wouldn't take Poston lower. That would be my only advice. Probably would skip Harris, but I like the bogeys for Spieth. And I think the other thing you could do, Pat, is if you go down a little bit, we've got like higher multipliers to take 3 or more birdies on some of these guys. Again, I know it's a par 70, but it's not an impossible course. Like Akshay, you're getting a decent multiplier to go more than 3.5 birdies.
Seriously, yeah. Or
Yeah.
just like look. I mean, if Akshay shoots 1 under, you're getting a big multiplier on it as well.
So you could go either way, really there. Somebody like Bazane Nout is another player who, I mean, I mentioned he gained like 5 strokes on approach last week. I don't mind being bullish on that, especially when I'm getting the better multiplier. So this is kind of what I'm saying. I think for round one, it sets up for you to take some shots with guys like that a little bit down the board. You can be bullish. You got to be obviously always be wary of the conditions and how they're going to change for the next round. You don't just want to be straight up like Jeff said, bet all the unders and be bullish the whole week. Obviously, if it plays really tough round one, see how they adjust. But for round one, yeah, I do like this approach, and I do like that bogey or better call on Spieth. See who else has that market, but it may just be Spieth. Did they only give the bogeys to Spieth?
Spieth and Scheffler have that market. That's it for right now.
Okay.
by like Wednesday night, most of it will end up coming around.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
again, you can use the extender play on Underdog as well to play the NBA for all the game ones. Then you get like a huge boost. I've used up all my boosts this week, I think. Let's say, yeah, nothing to see left for pro. You'd be shocked at how often I'm taking these. If they're going to give me a 40% profit boost, Geoff, I'm going to take it. Even if I am now the all-time leader in ROI for WNBA, I've won. I've gone 5 of 6 in picks, and I won my giant 3-banger last night with a 50% boost. I'm like, wow, I might as well just retire from WNBA. This is great.
I know. WNBA is great, and you shouldn't retire because it is a great market to bet. But no, absolutely. This is why I love Underdog, because they're always giving us some good boosts and deals and stuff like that. And again, they put out the market early for PGA, and you can analyze it a little bit, and we can hopefully use the weather to our advantage. And these may even tighten up a little bit before you may even see some of these change. So jump on it now if you like that strategy. But certainly a week for PGA. I'm liking the first round stuff, anyways.
So
Sometimes you'll look at these and you're like, these are pretty efficient. But this week I do like taking some of these shots with some of these guys.
So we'll go Akshay lower than 69.5. Harry Hall higher, 3.5 birdies. He shot like 61 in the first round here
Oh,
a
he's a
few years
great
ago.
first round player. Yeah.
Yeah. So
He's a
and
great
those
first
are
round player
big,
too.
and those are multipliers above 1. Then we'll just go Jordan Spieth higher than 2.5 bogeys. It pays over 8-1, so $100 pays 832. I can't enter it from this computer apparently because it cannot detect my location. The other thing that I wanted to run by you, and maybe I'll throw this one in the newsletter as well. I'll throw this link into the newsletter after I go play it after we finish the show. There's a multiplier right there. Adam Schenk to make the cut, Geoff. And this is an easy cut to make. 135 players, and there's legitimate 15 zombies at the bottom of this field.
Dude, Corey Pavin is in the field this week. Like, what is going on? That's a great shout out. I didn't even see that. I knew they had made the cut markets, but I didn't realize they had them with like multipliers like that on some of these guys. I'm gonna put together a couple cut cards like that too. So again, really good. And again, I like these events too more than the signature events for Underdog play. You can find some stuff like this if you just go digging. So that's a great shout out.
Let's see, maybe I'm trying to figure out who's another like random goober I can pick. Like that's a huge number on Shank, considering everyone
That
else
is a huge number.
is 0.6. No, Nico to make the cut, 0.8. So there you go. Shank Nico to make the cut, and then try to find like one other person to go along with it. It's not bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, again, like you don't always have to make like 4 or 5 person lineups. I mean, I always have a couple like event sort of long picks that sometimes only 2, 3 guys. So it's just all about finding what you think are obviously the best values and stuff out there. I mean, Nick Hardy to make the cut. No, we don't need to go that deep.
Yeah, you don't want to inject that into your life. That sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah. But yeah, there are a lot of guys down here you could consider. So
this is interesting right here. Vijagas to make the cut. I don't hate Vijagas. Did he get put into the DraftKings market because he was a late ad?
Pretty sure I saw him in there.
Yeah,
but
Camillo is the Stone Min at 6,000.
Yeah, Stone Min. Yeah.
So that's not terrible because this is a course where he can do his thing. He hits the fairway. He's great with his wedges, and he can make some putts. Like, wasn't he the first round leader at Sawgrass earlier this year?
Yes, he was.
Like he doesn't finish well, but he actually has made 1, 2, 3, 4 of his past 5 cuts.
Yeah, it's again. I think it was a good call out here on Underdog. This is definitely a market where you're going to be able to find, I think, a couple good plays like that, and potentially put together. I mean, William Meow to make the cut. Hasn't he been making a ton of cuts?
That feels like something I should know and don't.
He made the cut at Myrtle Beach.
Okay, he didn't make the cut at the American Express. I can assure you that.
Okay.
So yeah, he's made 4 of his past 6.
Again, like, I mean, even Valimaki is like his multiplier isn't that bad. Like,
I hate Valimaki this week. This probably means he finally goes off. I've been betting him. I do not like him at a course where he can't just drive it wherever he wants.
Right. No, that's a fair point. And his short game can sometimes disappoint. But I mean, there are definitely some nice plays down here. Willett is another guy, just like Villegas. I mean, just make a ton of pars, make the cut. probably finish T60.
All right, so this will be the other one I do. I don't know what it pays because I can't bring it up on the screen in order to play it. So we have the Spieth, Hall, and Akshay one. Then we'll go with Shank, Nico, and Griot all to make the cut. I assume that comes out to around 5.5 to 1.
Yeah. I mean, I can do it, but it'll take 1 second here because I got a bunch of crap up.
I mean, I can do it. I just have to erase these guys from my screen. I'll do
that
it.
sounds about right. Okay.
Oh, Kevin Kisner to make the cut? No, thank you.
Lipsky?
Oh, I mean, I would at least like to go with the guys that I like for the week. And you like
No.
Shank, so we'll roll with him.
We don't need to change it. I'm just shouting out random names at this point.
No, yeah, it's not as good. It's only 4 to 1 for those 4 to make the cut. That's still not terrible, though.
No, it's not. And I mean, like Griot, I mean, we're not like betting on the bottom of the barrel guys here. I mean, Griot's won this event. Echeverry is a solid player. Shank has played well. So I still think like just with the multiplier getting on Shank alone, it's not a bad play.
Yeah, it could be an add-on to most of these. Underdog just dropped their playoff basketball promo. With the extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boost. You're going to want to see how serious it gets when Game 7 hits. Hop on Underdog, the best place to make picks during playoff basketball, and you can get started right now by using code Mayo at Underdog to get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 and a free pick in the Pick'em game. Go extender at Underdog. You ever feel like car shopping's designed to make you second guess yourself? Is this a good price? Am I making the right choice? I mean, I don't know the answer to these questions, but with CarGurus, you don't have to wonder. They have the most inventory of new and used cars, so you can find the best deal. It's just going to be there on the screen for you. And with unbiased deal ratings, price drop alerts, and in-depth vehicle reviews, you'll make a decision you can feel great about because a big deal should never feel like a big risk. That's why you're watching this show, for big risk. If you want something that is a bit more solid, that's going to get you plus EV, that is going to be CarGurus. CarGurus will connect you with trusted dealerships when you're ready, ensuring a transparent and hassle-free buying process. It's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows CarGuru is the #1 most visited car shopping site. So, buy or sell your next car today with CarGurus at CarGurus.com. Go to CarGurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's CarGurus.com. CarGurus.com. If you're looking to up your game this summer, Tour Striker Online Golf Academy gives you the real coaching you've been missing. Monthly personal swing analysis. You send in your swing, boom, you'll get your feedback from a coach every single month. Premium weekly video tips, an expanded and enhanced library of tips reserved only for Academy members. I've been digging into these ones since I got my Tour Striker Online Golf Academy account, and my short game really starting to improve. That's where I needed to go immediately, and boom, there were tons of tips for me to help myself get up and down for par instead of just making bogey everywhere. Many golfers make getting better way harder than it needs to be. They try to Frankenstein a swing by watching some YouTube videos and an Instagram reel, and all of those tips don't work in conjunction with each other, which you're gonna get at the Tour Striker Online Golf Academy. And the worst part is, if you do it by Frankensteining it together, you pick up bad habits that are really hard to unlearn. I know, I went through this for years. It's frustrating, it's slow, and it leaves you stuck way longer than you need to be. So what you need to do is head to tourstriker.com/TSGA and use the code MAYO to get your first month of Tour Striker Golf Academy online free, plus instant access to 2 bonus courses, the recipe for better golf and bombs, and how to consistently smash the driver, a $194 value. That's tourstriker.com/TSGA, then use the code MAYO. All right, coming back with DraftKings picks for the week. We're going to build some lineups. Where would you like to start with all of this stuff? Because do we start with Scotty? Is that the play? And then work backwards from there and try to build some? Because it's going to be one of these things where, what do you think that the ownership in like the big $5 is going to be on Scotty? 60%?
Yeah, 50 to 60. low 60s max kind of thing. Like if I had to put a range, like 55 to 62
Like
off the top of my head.
how good can your second guy be in a lineup with Scotty Scheffler?
Yeah.
I guess is the
So I
question.
know I was obviously toying with this earlier. And I went as extreme as possible, went Berger. I mean, if you're going like Scheffler Berger to start, just as an example, I mean, you're taking some real chances. I mean, for basically, like $6,000 players. I mean, you could probably sneak a $7,000 player in there if you went with two extreme guys. I just don't really like it. Personally, I think that the better play is probably to start with like an 8K player and potentially, just go a little bit more balanced with your next two picks. But you
So
can
like
do it. I mean,
so like
it's a kind of event.
Scheffler Akshay works.
Yeah, that's the play I like better. Is to start down there personally.
But so then we can throw Nico in. He's $7,000. Who else can we chuck in from down here? Oh
So
God.
we got Nico's 7, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't mind some of the 6K players bad, but it's just you don't want too many of them. Like I like Andrew Putnam this week. I think he's a good tournament play. He's been gaining. He's had like one blow up round at each event that's kind of like thwarted his momentum, but he's been playing well. I don't mind Eric Cole. You just threw in there as well. You can throw Bez in.
And use your boy Shank. Like that's how the lineup looks, though. It's
Yeah,
Scheffler, Akshay, Nico, Shank, Cole, Bezadenhout. Like these are some of the best teams you're going to be able to build with Scheffler, unless
yeah,
like you're. I mean, we can try this a different way too. I mean, Cole and Bezadenhout are also what is it, Hoagie and Griot. If you just wanted to do that, and I mentioned Bridgman. Bridgman has come what? What has Bridgman been up to? Cut, fourth cut. Oh, he's due for another like fourth place finish here. Perfect.
right.
And he rated really well at Valspar. So you could do that. You
That's
could
true.
go get rid of Bez, get rid of Cole, and you can go Griot and Bridgman in your lineup. And like this is a strong Scheffler lineup.
I think so. Like I think that's probably like the best sort of Scheffler lineup, just from a build perspective that you're going to get this week. Again, like I could see Scheffler and Berger, going 1-2. It's not that I don't think that could happen, but I mean, you're basically like throwing darts with the rest of your lineup kind of thing. So it is the sort of event where, we get guys like a Putnam finishes fifth and, like whoever else, like Harry Higgs could get up there for like a top 8 or something. But I don't know, man. I feel better personally about relying on a guy like Batia or Echeverria to kind of get me there than having to go Scheffler, Berger, and 4 guys like just kind of who very random, and super high variance. So
Let's try it. Let's try Scheffler Burger and see how it works.
yeah, no, absolutely.
So Vigegas at 6K?
I mean, if I'm going 6K, it's pretty much either Villegas or like John Pack, right? I mean,
Or Michael Block?
Yeah, I mean, if you just want to throw your money into the furnace,
You see.
absolutely. Um, but yeah, going up, like, I mean, as we go up, there's a little bit more viability, obviously. Like Dylan Wu, we just brought up
Yeah.
happenstance, as I mentioned his name. Yeah.
I feel like I've bet him at this tournament before because he has the right skills. He just is another guy who can't putt, but wedges,
Yeah.
accuracy, it's kind of his game. Like everyone else kind of terrifies me down here.
Yeah. I mean, again, like David Lipsky is another player for boom or bust GPPs. Like we're talking about a $5 GPP. Obviously, he has finished really well this event 3 years in a row. He's T9 last year. He's misses a ton of cuts, but when he does make the cut, he finishes like T14, T9 kind of thing. So Lipsky is another guy you could think about. But again, like when you're starting Scheffler Berger, like these are the guys you're relying on. So I think the biggest thing with Scheffler this week from a strategy perspective is if you're obviously if you're doing like ton of lineups, you're going to make a few lineups like this. So, but I would say the majority of your lineup should be more of the more balanced builds with like, the Batia or like relying on a Bud Cauley kind of Kurt Kitayama combo or something like that, to kind of get you there rather than Berger and like Lipsky to get you there. So that's just my take. I'd feel better about, starting lower than Berger.
You know who's playing like surprisingly good golf?
No.
Brian Campbell.
Right.
He can't drive the
Didn't he make
ball.
the cut last week?
He made the cut last week. Yeah, he made the
Yeah,
cut at the
surprising.
Masters.
I
Like
know.
he's not good, but he's also like not terrible at the same time. It's really strange.
I mean, this is a Brian Campbell course. I mean, he won on the exact kind of course that isn't a Brian Campbell course, of course, but
Well, at least he could go like wherever he wanted on that course. Hell, he could get into the middle of the trees and just pops out into the middle of the
yeah,
fairway. But his
just
approach play has been
destroy
great.
everyone's lives.
Yeah, his approach play has been great. His putting has been great. If he can just not bleed all of the strokes possible off the tee, he could be fine.
I mean, and you can. That's the thing about Colonial. Like, you can lose strokes off the tee here because everyone misses fairways anyways. So, you don't need to be like super dominant. Like, I mean, obviously to win, you've got to be good, but like to make the cut to get a top 10, I mean, you can make it up in other ways at Colonial. So I do like that call out. Um, Mullinix hasn't been terrible lately either. I've already talked about Shank way too much. But certainly Campbell, I think, fits in that kind of group of people I would be looking towards if you're down in this range.
Let's see, Norlander we can throw in here now. Now we're up to 7,200 for our last guy. Oh, Pearson Cootie. I feel like I've mentioned. Oh, Hisatune is right there at $7,100.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just chuck him in. So
Yeah, I mean,
Scheffler, Berger, Vijagas, Campbell, Norlander, Hisatune. I mean, that's not markedly different than the one we just built. It's probably better because it has Berger and not Akshay in it.
I mean, it all comes down to what you think of. I think a lot of it comes down to what you think of Vegas.
Well,
Like
you can get,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, you don't need to take Vijagas in this. Like, you could punt Hisatune off and Vijagas. So let's try
right.
that. I'm going to throw that lineup in, and then we can rebuild it and go. If you're dead set on not using Vijagas, so you have to get rid of your highest price guy. That's not Berger, so 7,100. Get rid of Vijagas, and you have 2,600 plays left if you really want it. Like, there's
Well,
guy like
Joel
Sam
Dahmen,
Ryder
like,
can just gain 30 million strokes putting if he wants to.
yeah.
See your boy. We'll throw in your boy Putnam. Then we're at $6,500. Like, why can't you mentioned Mullinix? I don't like Mullinix here just because he's a bomber and I don't love bombers at this course. I would prefer to rely on accuracy, but someone like Ben Silverman. Like, what is Ben Silverman has two skills: wedges and putting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hayden Springer, I think is going to be a popular play this week. Like, he could also come dead last, but he's at 64. Like, do you feel better with someone like Nico in your lineup or whoever it might be? Or would you rather go, if you have to use Vijagas, or would you rather go like a Putnam, Carson Young?
I think for this event, I would probably rather go like Putnam, Carson Young, just because I feel like those guys do have a shot at like a top 20, a top 15, whereas Vijagas, I just like I could definitely see him making the cut, but I think that the chances of him getting the top 15, you kind of need to really make a difference, are just it's not there. So I guess what I'm saying is the difference between like Putnam and Vijagas is bigger than Putnam and like Hisatuni.
Okay.
Because I think
And
I
we
think
can actually
Putnam
put
can
Shank in
do,
that.
yeah,
We can put Shank as the last guy in that lineup too. So
right.
Scheffler, Berger, Putnam, Shank, Norlander, Brian Campbell. It's funny because it's not that it's not fun to build. It's just like sad.
Yeah, it is sad. I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I see you have to get extreme here. Like, I mean, if you're using Scheffler one way or the other, right? And I do think like the Scheffler Burger builds, I think, are going to be pretty unique. So that's the nice thing. It's just they're unique for a reason because you have to you have to fill out your lineup with, like you said, sad players. So it's kind of tough.
So the other one would be like you're going to get a lot of Scheffler, Davis Riley, Scheffler, Harris English, Scheffler,
Yep.
Aaron Rye, that level of player, like the in between Berger and Akshay that we built. And that still only leaves you with 7,000. So if we just use Scheffler and just go down, because Tambo and I always try to do this where you could fill up Scheffler with 5-7K guys. I actually don't think that people are going to do that this week because they'll want to get in because all these guys suck so badly that they're just going to want to get in other guys.
And again, like going back to like the balance thing, I mean, I think this is the good situation to go that way with him because this course just always groups a lot of these guys together. And like I'm not suggesting like I think the 8K range is quite a bit better than the 7K range, but this course just kind of evens it out a little bit where, guys like Grillo, Hoagie, even like Woodland this week, who I kind of like, I think can kind of make some noise and get it together here. And you see a lot of those names that you just put up on the screen kind of get bunched together in leaderboards. So, you get like Scheffler and maybe Eric Cole has like a big Sunday and gets like a T3 and Scheffler wins. The rest of your lineup there, like I could see all those guys getting in the top 25, and all of a sudden you're left with like, like a pretty damn good lineup. So I think that the more balanced builds with Scheffler are good, but I say more balanced meaning like Akshay and under. Like I don't really want to go with the traditional. I think for me with Scheffler, it's either you're going really extreme, Scheffler Berger, Scheffler Spieth, maybe Scheffler McNeely, or you're going like Scheffler Batia, Scheffler Colley to start kind of thing.
I think that actually makes a lot of sense. So this one is Scheffler, Cole, Hisatune, Nico, Griot, Bridgman. We can throw that one in. And then you could do sort of like a variation of that if you really wanted to get up that maybe you can get up to Akshay. Let's see here. We can take Griot down to Norlander, who's 68. And that
Yeah,
means
he's
you
like
can
the
turn.
Swedish griot anyways, so that's
Yeah, and then
perfect.
you can just turn Bridge. Then you have 8,100 left, so you can have Lucas Glover and down. There's actually a decent spot for Glover to jam him into a lineup like the
Yeah,
Scheffler Glover line, like Scheffler Colley, Scheffler Hall, Scheffler Colley, Scheffler Akshay, Scheffler Glover. Like those are lineups that I don't mind building.
I agree. And I mean, like Glover is another guy who he's a veteran on a veteran's course who could just get hot with the putter. We know the irons are going to be good. And he can match Scheffler a little bit with this course. And I'm not saying he's going to beat Scheffler, but he could certainly get up there on Sunday. Give him a little bit of a go and maybe end up with like a T2 like Harris English did last week. So that's the kind of player like I'd be looking to pair with Scotty. You've got to obviously kind of create the story in your head a little bit. Much like last week, and just hope it runs out on Sunday. But certainly Glover to start to pair with Scheffler gives you way more room, and you don't have to go to that bar fest at like 6,500 and under.
Yeah, that's a version of a Scheffler balance type build that we can do. And we already talked about the weather on the weekend, that it's going to be, I don't want to say extreme, but it doesn't look friendly by any stretch of the imagination. So you can see guys just flip 30 places on the leaderboard out of nowhere if they just have one good putting day.
Absolutely. Yep.
So how do we build an actual non-Scheffler lineup here? Where do you even start?
It's like it's funny because like usually these are the ones it's like, oh yeah, this is easy. This week, like legitimately, I mean, I just feels like it's just like pick a name. And I mean, like Matsuyama, like I don't even think I knew Matsuyama was in this tournament until like I started doing a little bit of research for this show. I'm like, oh, Hideki's in there. So I don't know. I mean, Hideki not like the second best player in this tournament? I mean, feels like people may not even use him. I mean, I don't know. Like that's probably like one way to look at it. I like McNeely as well. Maybe you go like Hideki McNeely.
So I went a different route here. I kind of hammered and peppered that low eight. So I used two eights, 181, 184. So like Akshay, Harry Hall, Glover, Spawn, Nico. But I'm gonna get rid of Nico and put in Cully. Just all the guys that I kind of like from that range and see what's left over. And it's actually Hideki. So it's
Yeah.
Hideki as your big guy, but then five reasonable like look, I get that Harris English is better than Harry Hall, but it's not that big of a difference.
Sure. I mean, and I mean Harry Hall is they're not the same price either, right? So
No, but what I'm saying,
um
like the like getting Hideki in here, I think that the difference between Harris English to Harry Hall is way different. Like that's what
oh right. Yeah, yeah.
a $1,200 difference. So the difference between Harris English to Harry Hall and then Harry Hall to Norlander, basically, like it
Yeah.
feels like that's a bigger drop off at the bottom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I got you.
So you can
The
do it.
the
You can do a version
yeah.
like that and kind of put in whatever guys that you like the best, or we go with what you just said, like Hideki McNeely to start. What is that? That leaves you with 77. So basically, you're going to go to one of your whoever you like at the low sevens or high sixes. So I like Nico the best. We'll throw in Nico. Now we're back to 8K. That if you wanted to go like Hall, you could go Collie, Akshay, Harry Hall to finish that lineup if you wanted, or you could try to get in a Davis Riley, like this could be a nice spot for Brian Harmon at 85, or even this could be a Bobby Mack, Poston, or Harris English as another night. You just go 3 9K guys.
I mean, I would say, like, I think a lot of people are. Let's just do for sake of argument, throw Siwoo Kim in there, because I feel like
Don't
one
have to
thing
twist my
people
arm.
will. Yeah, I mean, there you go. But I feel like one thing people will do is, if they're not going to go with like a Scheffler build, they're going to go very balanced, kind of like you were making. And it's not like, you still have a ton of options if you go that route, but if you do obviously go with like three guys around nine, like between 9 and 9,500, you still have like really good flexibility, because we like a lot of these guys in the 7K range, like the low 7Ks. Like, I think Nico is a very good pick this week. So I mean, you could throw in there, but I can still fit Bez in there, and I can still go like, make a another pick like Hoagie or Woodland or Griot. And I mean, I feel like decent enough about it. So yeah, I kind of like getting like those three sort of 9K plays in. I know C was not quite 9K, but he's kind of in that range. So I threw Collie in. I threw your guy Nico in. That leaves us at 72.
I used
Yeah,
Hisatune. I used
let's
Rio at
throw Hisatune in.
71. But you
Yeah.
could also do Norlander with Glover or Akshay or Novak, or you could use your guy Shank and get Brian Harmon in.
I mean, the Shank Brian Harmon thing, man, I mean, like, that's getting. You could definitely do it. I mean, we're talking about big GPPs, obviously. Um, I think Shank is the more boomer bust play. I think for like a core lineup, I would probably rather side with like going down to Collie, because I think Collie and Harmon. I mean, Brian Harmon obviously wins more, but I think Collie has a similar sort of floor at this course. And then that allows you to get up to guys like Echeverria and Hisatune versus Shanks. So I'd probably side with that view.
All right, well let's throw that one in, and we'll call that a day in terms of building lineups. I did want to go over ownership very quickly. Like right now on Fantasy National, not a busy week over at Fantasy National in terms of people generating lineups this early. Like you can tell when people are like gung ho for a tournament. This is not
Right.
one of them.
Yeah, it's the old hangover, right? And I mean, I think everyone's probably just like, well, it's Scheffler week again. So yeah, people get Jones in later in the week, but ownership wise, it is. I think we kind of touched on this a little bit at the top of the show, but I do feel like, Berger will be a guy like people gravitate towards and kind of look to trust if they're not going the Scheffler route. I mean, obviously Scotty's going to be extremely popular in DraftKings, but I feel like Berger will kind of be the second player that people opt to build around, if they're not using Scheffler, just as something to think about. I'm not saying that his ownership's going to be outlandish or something, but I feel like he'll probably be the name that most people sort of gravitate towards as a second man.
So, I mean, shout out. I did a thing off the top about James, who passed away yesterday. And one of the biggest
Yeah,
bits of information he gave me was when you're using this product, take a look at the favorite percentage, because you get a good sense of where people want to go. Whether they can get there or not, you're not sure. And you're absolutely right. It's Scheffler and Berger above all else. Like
yeah,
those are the players people want to get into lineups this week. And after that, it's Aaron Rye. So what that tells me is you're going to see a lot of, not a lot, but Scheffler, Berger, Scheffler, Aaron Rye. People will try to make that work. When that doesn't work, Bud Colley, Ryan Gerard, Harris English, Mav McNeely are right after that. So you're going to see a lot of like Berger, Rye, Mav, Berger, Mav,
yeah,
Siwoo, like we just built, which means, and then you're going to have Scheffler on an island by himself, where then you start mixing in Eric Cole, Gerard, Bud Colley, who else? Lee Hodges, people like Putnam, your guy. People seem to be gravitating towards him. Rio, Nico, Hoagie, Griot, Damon, Valimaki. Like those are the sorts of names that start piling into Scotty lineups and maybe at the bottom of those triple stack 9K lineups. But if we just sort by salary and see what's going on here, no one's using Fleetwood. No one's using Spieth. No one's using Hideki. Bobby Mack projects at 2% ownership.
I was going to say, I'm just listing off the names here that you didn't say, and I'm like, is this Bobby Mack week then, Pat? Because yeah, um,
Short course and weather. Like
Yeah.
He has to be a play. Like, I will play him over Poston, over McNeely, over Harris
Yeah.
English, over Aaron Rye. Like, I don't care. I'll go with Bobby Mack, the guy who's, let's see, Rye has 1 win. When was the last time I guess English won at Farmers? English, weirdly, he has some, like, obviously he won Travelers when he beat Kramer Hickok in that 39-hole playoff, whatever it was. He has wins at short courses, but they're very
Yeah.
rare. He tends to do his best work on longer, hard courses now.
He tends to blow up. He tends to get himself in contention and then blow up on these short courses for some reason. I just feel like he gets almost like bored or something. He's blown up at Colonial too, but it's a good point. But yeah, Ben Griffin is another guy. We haven't talked about. I don't
He
feel like
just seems
anyone's probably
overvalued. Like, he seems overvalued.
yeah,
And
he
like
does. I agree.
Davis Thompson, who is better than him, who won at John Deere last
Yeah,
year,
that's
is
true.
going to be lower owned for $100 more.
Okay, that's fair. Davis Thompson is probably the better pivot. Both those guys I don't think will be super popular, but yeah, Davis Thompson, who I still think is a very good young golfer. Spawn, who I obviously mentioned off the top, maybe potential. Well, Michael Kim.
He's dealing with this back issue. He did make the cut at Quail,
He
so
is.
that's positive news.
Yeah, he is, but he says it's getting better too. Because like normally this would be a very like he's finished like top 20 at this course. He won at John Deere. Um, I don't hate the idea of using Michael Kim this week. I feel like just from what he's put out, like he said like he's getting better. It's almost improved. He played pretty good to make the cut on Friday, to be honest. I actually, funnily enough, he fucked one of my underdog tickets on Friday because I had him. I think I had him to go over his number. And Pat, he went 1 under in the Green Mile. And he to screw. I'm like, oh, I'm locked. He's just got the Green Mile to play. I just need an even par from Michael Kim, who can't even swing a club. And the guy hits it to like 16 feet on 18. I was so pissed. Also happy for him because he's like great guy, it seems like, but I was kind of pissed. But yeah, I almost bet Michael Kim this week. I'm not gonna lie. Like I feel like this could be maybe a pretty good spot for him.
Yeah, and like just looking through it right now. So I think that in the non-Scotty lineups, like I'll stick with Berger because I like Berger, but Hideki and Bobby Mack as my 2 main guys in the nines. No one's going to use them. They're probably like the second and fifth best player in this field. May as well go that route, and that leaves me with no Poston, Aaron Rye, like the quote unquote good form, safer options that you would think about. But if I'm going to win a giant GPP, I kind of need the good players, and hopefully they show up.
Yeah. You still exactly. You still need, the guys with upside, like you said.
And then these low 8K guys that no one is using, like Herman, Spawn, Michael Kim, I'll throw him in. No one's using him. Harry Hall, Akshay, and people are going to use Bud Colley, and maybe a little bit of Harry Hall, but people are using Gerard and Mac Hughes over these guys.
Yeah. The only guy I really don't like from that range, like I'm completely out on. Well, I shouldn't say the only guy. I would be out on Gerard here. I feel like he's just getting a little bit too much heat. Mac Hughes is whatever. Yeah, no problem fading him. He just shows up so randomly. And then I'm kind of out on Novak this week, but the rest of the guys like Kim, Glover, Batia, like and even Harry Hall, even if they have a little bit of ownership, I don't mind using those guys. But certainly the lower owned ones like Glover and Kim, I would be in on.
Yeah, so that kind of leads me back to that like Hideki or Bobby Mack and those low 8K guys. You could jam all 6 of them into a lineup and just pray Scheffler doesn't win.
Pray you get the wind on Saturday. It becomes a grind fest. Bobby Mack, comes through with his short game. Batia comes through with the putter. Harry Hall sticks around because he's a great scrambler.
Bobby Mack might be a
not that hard to see.
Bobby Mack might be a great Sam Burns-esque bet here. Like Burns won from 5 back on Sunday and was just done. Like 3 hours before all the leaders. Maybe Bobby Mack's just at 3 under. You're like, all right, well, he's 6 back. Just bet him in the morning and see what happens.
It's another great point because we talked about the betting, but this classically a very good in-play betting. You've seen some big comebacks and some guys blow up and stuff down the stretch. So, yeah, think about that on the weekend as well. Some guys further back. I'll probably have a couple shots to fire on the weekend.
All right. DJ, Jazzy, Geoff Ulrich. Tell everyone where to find you. What are you doing these days? Chilling?
I'm just chilling. I'm on Twitter at the Fantasy Grinding. Still find me there. Got a little golf newsletter going 1 day a week. We'll see. May pop up the volume on that eventually, especially come football time. But still doing work for the good people at Fantasy Life. .com as well, Pat. Love the football stuff there. Lots of fantasy stuff as we get closer and closer to the season. Still doing a little fantasy work for DraftKings as well, but give me a follow at the Fantasy Grind on Twitter if you could. Subscribe to my newsletter. It's free. Probably be free forever, but free for now, and appreciate it as always.
Yeah, my newsletter is also free, and that's never going to change. I like having a free, just a place to share my thoughts.
You're a man of the people, Pat.
It is. I mean, I have tools that I sell. My actual advice, people do not want to be paying. I should be paying you for that to like get advice. If you want to take it from me, I'll just give it up for free, and then I can
Adam Shank. Yes.
Yeah, like the chips can fall where they may with that one. But you can follow me at the PME. You can find my newsletter down in the description. Cool Bet, Underdog, go sign up for those. That's down in the description as well. And I have a live show on June 7th in Toronto. So if you're in the greater GTA area or you just want to fly in, go buy a ticket. Come hang out with us that day. We're all going to be there, so it's going to be a blast. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience. Experience.